The winner is Sydney, Australia.
I remember going to the closing ceremony and saying, I'm going to do this again. That was probably my Everest.
You are going to the opening ceremony. No, none of you are staying behind and hiding in your rooms, all right?
You've opened up to us about your health battles. Can you sort of describe what the last, 3-4 years have been like for you?
I've had a lot of mechanical problems because congenital hips and things like that, but the last period since 2018 is sort of, or what's inside, colorectal problems with bowel cancer, and they cut it out, and that was fine, but then it suddenly came again. That was 2018, it came again in 2022 and popped up in my lung. They cut that off robotically, it was fine. Then in 2024 it turned up in my thyroid, and so they took that out. And let me stress, there's a lot of people worse off. I have some very good oncologists and they all work together, and they decided to send my blood for what they call genetic testing in America, and it came back and said, yes, there is bowel cancer in your blood. And because through that genetic testing they worked out what the treatment would be, and it was 6 months of chemo. And that had its moments. The first goal I ever set myself, because I wasn't good enough to be an Olympic athlete, I was manager of the rowing team that went to the Montreal Olympics. But I remember going to the closing ceremony and saying, I'm going to do this again. And I did it in all 9 times. So I set my own goals.
Danny Roach claimed Olympic gold in Atlanta.
Gucci Australia!
Now she thinks she can take our team to top 5.
It's time, and it's an evolution, and it requires new leadership.
She's challenging John Coates for the Australian Olympic Committee's top job.
How would you describe that chapter of your life?
Some of the steps taken to defeat me in terms of support of politicians. Malcolm Turnbull, who Danny was one of those who was in his electorate. Malcolm was clearly supporting her, and one of the sports told me that they had an issue once, and they rang his sports advisor, and we got the answer, well, if you make sure John Coates doesn't get elected president, we can help you. I knew that was happening. There were some disappointments in it too, because there were sports that were only still on the Olympic program because I'd voted for them when they were being challenged around the IOC Executive Board. We had to take the challenge very seriously. I've never been prepped for interviews and things like that, but Mark Arbib and a few others, and I'm glad they did. I was better for it.
The International Olympic Committee has the honor to announce that the Games of the 35th Olympiad are awarded to Brisbane, Australia.
From about 2015, I'd identified that with the changes that were being made to under the new norm, where you could host the Games in more than one city, that there was an opportunity for Brisbane to go for it. Remember, Sydney was awarded the Games 7 years out. And they had a change of government. So when it was Nick Reiner who first approached me about coming on board to make sure that they didn't lose to Melbourne again. And so we did all that, but not a lot had been done meaningfully in terms of the sport in that first period. Then Nick fell victim to some issue, and John Fahey took over, but Nick stayed on the committee. That was probably my Everest, I suppose. Winning the Games, playing a major role in winning the Games, and most international people credit me with that, and then playing the role in delivering the sports side.